Attention remodeling entrepreneurs. Are you ready to rise? Ryan Paul Adams and Kyle Hunt are your hosts of Remodelers on the Rise. A weekly podcast where they interview today's most inspiring entrepreneurs from the remodeling world who share their journey and empower you to become the next remodeler on the rise. And now, here are your hosts.
Remodelers on the Rise, show number 4.
Welcome to Remodelers on the Rise. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt, and alongside me is my co-host, Ryan Paul Adams. Howdy, Ryan.
Hey, happy Friday, Kyle.
Happy Friday to you as well. So let's get started by introducing today's guest for our show number 4. Randall Souls has been in the remodeling industry for over 39 years, building a successful design-build company out of Alabama, our second Alabama guy. How about that? He's a 3-time Chrysalis Award winner, 4-time winner of Remodeler of the Year in his local council, and NAHB Remodeler of the Month. Randall is also a consultant to other remodelers in the industry. He's got 2 websites that you guys can look up, guys and gals can look up, RemodelerBiz.com and ScientificRemodelingSystem.com. So welcome, Randall.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Good to be
doing
here.
Well, Randall.
Excellent.
Good to be here.
So, Randall, the focus of this show is really about you and your business and your experience. I just gave you kind of a quick intro, and now I'd like to turn things over to you. Why don't you briefly tell us more about you personally and also your current business?
Okay. Well, let me make a slight correction here. I am a few miles from Alabama, but I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I've been here a long, long time.
I'm blaming Ryan for that.
That would be my mistake. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you know, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, we're all right
all
here together.
Yeah, no.
We're all buddies, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're all buddies, all good people. So, yeah, I've been in the industry a long time. I started 42 years ago, and started out as a laborer, then a carpenter, and then when the economy got soft, I went ahead and started my own company. Perfect timing, you know. And that was in 1978, a long time ago, and I have been on my own since then. Worked into a design build, and that's where I really excelled. You know, I got my processes down and systems down, and absolutely love that business. That's what I can talk day and night about. Because I think it's, you know, when you love a business, you think that's the right business to be in.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And now I help other remodelers. I decided to give up remodeling, and, you know, there's a certain point in your life where you say, it's time to try something else. You know, You don't have to stay with the same thing until you die. So I learned a lot about the internet in the past 4 years, web design, podcasting, all these things that come along with technology. And I use that to teach remodelers and to help coach remodelers on the 2 sites that you mentioned, Kyle.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice that you didn't completely abandon us. You know, you're staying in the industry, which is great. You know, and I think you have a lot to offer. And I've read some of your stuff, and it's right on. So
he doesn't know where you live, but
I don't know where you live
for
some reason. I don't know what's going on with that, but
one thing, Randall.
Now you do.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned, Randall, was, you know, you don't have to be doing something until you die. That was a little comment, but it's, you know, it's like sometimes we need permission to change things up. Even if you're in your remodeling business and you're saying, you know what, why do I always have to do these stinking little handyman jobs when my real focus needs to be on these kitchens or additions? Or it could be totally vice versa, right? Man, this handyman type work is exactly what I need to do. Just because your business has been a certain way for a certain amount of time does not mean it always needs to be that way. And I just kind of read into what you said there a little bit, and I think there's
awesome.
a bigger lesson.
So true.
Yeah. So on Remodelers on the Rise, we ask a series of questions to help our listeners learn from you, someone we consider to be a successful remodeling entrepreneur. So, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and get us started with that first question?
Okay. Thanks, Kyle. All right, Randall. So question 1, can you share a success quote that you live by an example of how you might apply that in your life or your remodeling business?
Well, it comes from a book I'm rereading right now, and it's just an incredible book. Just happened to find it. These things just come to me. It's called Reinventing Yourself by Mario Alonso Puig. And I'll take a quote from his book, and it's one of the ways I live. And in life, when something is really important for us and we feel the fear of emptiness, we have to have faith that when we take a step forward, despite our fear, our wings will unfold. And that is such a good quote, because we're all scared to step into the unknown. And boy, in remodeling, there's plenty of that.
There's a ton of fear, and I think people just have a lot of doubts about their abilities. So I think sometimes you got to stay in the fight. I talk about that a lot with a lot of people that I'm meeting with, and you just stick with it, and you just never know what's going to come out if you continue to stay in the fight.
Yeah, and just take that step forward. Go ahead in the unknown. If you're working in one part of the field and you say, I don't think I'm good enough to step into this field, it's just too big for me. Say you want to go from handyman to design then build, which is a big step.
It is a big step.
You can do that. You just have to have the courage to do it. And as I told Ryan in the last podcast I did with him, the bungee jump.
Yeah.
Leap of faith.
You got to try. I mean, you don't know until you try, and you've probably heard it a million times. You got to give it a try and see what happens.
There you go. Well, Randall, next question. Share a story of a time in your journey where you encountered failure. We don't want to dread on the negative, but we can learn from times of failure in life. Take us to that time in your life, if you can. Kind of tell us the story and share any lessons you learned from that.
Well, Ryan's heard this before, but I haven't had too many major failures because I don't take a lot of risks. But and I've never been to court in all the years I've been in remodeling. And except for this story I'm about to tell you, I've gotten paid 100% of what I'm owed. But a long time ago, when we first started out, we were just booming. We had 4 or 5 crews going, and I was crazy busy. And we had a job at some distance, and we billed them by mail. And pardon the repeat here, Ryan.
No, let's share it.
So we billed them by mail, and so we billed them about the middle of the job. We billed them for this thing, and they didn't pay us, and we called them up, and they said, oh, the check's in the mail. No problem. So then we waited another week, and by this time we're about 3 or 4 weeks in arrears. And finally went out there to the job, and they told us, no, there's a lot of things wrong with this job, and we're not going to pay you until they're corrected. And what this couple was doing was we had let them do some work on their own, which we never let them do again.
You lost control a little bit.
Yeah, lost control. I mean, this whole thing spells out of control.
Yeah.
And long story short, they brought another contractor in who bid about 3 times as much as it would have cost to finish the job, which and if this had gone to court, we would have lost a lot more. So we basically had to walk away from it. And we said, just never again is this going to happen. And we changed our processes, and this never did happen again. We monitored those.
What were some of the processes that got changed as a result of that?
Well, one, we never let anybody work on the job during a contract except us. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to have somebody work, we closed out that contract, and they worked, and we started a new contract.
Lesson?
Yeah, it was. And the other one was we collect weekly by person.
In person.
In person.
That makes sense.
And so if they have a problem, they're going to tell you right away.
Yeah.
And it just solved all our problems there. Our cash flow went to completely black from then on.
We were getting more consistent with the revenue, and also they can't hide behind email and phone. So you're meeting them face to face, and that's important.
Yeah.
Forces you out there. Yeah, you're going out there for money, but you're also going out there to check on the job. Forces you to probably manage it a little stronger as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Randall,
I bet you there's a couple people that might be, listening to this and going, "Oh, I should start doing that." So,
yeah, for sure.
Very good.
They really should.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
So was that your big aha moment in your business, which was also turning that negative into a positive, or was there something else that kind of opened your eyes and changed your business for the better?
The aha moment was not really a moment as it was kind of it just happened over time, was when everything smoothed out and we realized that, if we follow these steps and do not deviate, we follow these steps from the initial call to the end of the job, that job is just going to be like clockwork. And that was so nice when we said, we don't really have to think a lot about this. Just follow this process and it will happen. And it became as routine as remodeling jobs can become.
Right.
They're never routine, but
Right.
What I love so far about the podcast that we've done with Dennis or Rob or Neil or today with you, Randall, is I think we haven't had one yet where the word process and systems haven't come up to the forefront. And I'm glad that's happening, because that's kind of an overarching theme that it's a never-ending thing in our business, but it's also something that just kind of slips under the radar. Man, we are so busy putting out fires and working in this important and urgent quadrant that I kind of understand that processes are important, but I hope what everybody's hearing or confirming or being reminded of is that time you're spending working on your business, improving your processes, is going to lower your stress level, is going to increase your profits, is going to increase your margins. There's just so many things that come from it.
absolutely. I mean, no one's going to succeed without them, and they're just going to beat their head against the wall.
Well, and you have to make time for it. Randall, was that something that you built into your week, like a set day, or was it just something that you just made sure you found time for somewhere?
We really, unfortunately, did not do it in the most organized fashion. When we hit an issue, and we said, we've got to make a change to our contract. That can never happen again. And we just make these little tweaks all along, and we'd react immediately. When there was an issue, we'd say, that's got to change.
So it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it's a process. It takes time, and you're not going to solve all of these in a week. So I think that's important for people to understand.
Sure.
Randall, is there something in the business or the industry right now that's exciting you?
The most exciting thing for me right now is one-on-one coaching. I just really enjoy that. I mean, you both know this. You both have been in this, and I just enjoy helping people get over these humps that might take them years to discover, and for them to come back and say, "Wow, that was so easy that way."
It's the most rewarding part of what I do as well. Yeah, Kyle.
Talk to the people listening on this call. Why is it important for a business owner or a remodeling business owner to have a coach?
Well, it's because I call it a knife cannot cut itself.
Yeah,
you cannot see inside your business sometimes what other people can see. Mm-hmm. And remodelers are the most bullheaded bunch of people out there. They're like wild stallions. And we're always right, and we know what to do, and we don't need anybody else telling us what to do. So it's very hard to take advice like that. But when you do, if a person is open to change, mm-hmm. they can learn so much faster.
Right, speeds up learning curve.
Yeah,
maybe
money loves
that
speed.
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I just think money loves speed, and in all of these things, it's not that we're looking for get rich quick schemes or anything like that, but it's about getting to the money faster. And I feel like a lot of times it's just aligning yourself with people that know more than you do, especially where you're weakest, and not trying to be everything in your business. It just becomes really draining.
Ryan, put this on our list of things to consider when you and I talk about this podcast. But Wild Stallions on the Rise has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, that could be our next podcast, starring Randall Souls. Yeah.
Oh
All right,
my.
cool.
So,
Well, Randall, talk. This I'm kind of tweak this question a little bit, but and Ryan, if you want to take the lead on this question,
no, go ahead.
Okay. Talk to us kind of a specific, when we were talking a little bit before we started the recording and via email, you were talking about the production side of things, and you had kind of a couple important notes that you wanted to make sure you got across to the remodelers listening. Why don't you go ahead and do that now if you could?
Well, when it comes to production, the startup, just like in sales, the initial call is very important. In production, the handoff and the beginning of that job is very important, because when you arrive at a job, you have spent time with the customer designing the job and getting it ready, but now you have a whole bunch of new people show up they've never met, and they don't know if they made the right decision. So this first day is a telltale day that says, yeah, I'm really glad I hired them, or boy, I think I made a mistake, and it's going to be trouble the whole job. Excuse me. So when you start here, you need to run through a checklist and be sure you have everything for that first day and that everything's set up smooth. And when they see that professional approach, you go in and you set up dust proofing and signs, and you put the porta toilet in the right place exactly, and your tools over here, and everything's protected and you're not hurting their property. They're going to feel very good about their decision to hire you. And then the second thing is the importance of a pre-construction conference. And as I told you, this is a large subject on how many ways you can use a pre-construction conference. But basically, my pre-construction conference was to call the owners together, and usually just me. And if it was an important subcontractor, I would bring him in too. But usually it's just me. And then we would open the contract, and we would read the whole thing, which sometimes was 3 or 4 pages, and we would walk around from area to area, point out exactly what we're going to do. I took a lot of notes, and we go through this whole thing. So this is what we're going to do here, and this is the paint you've chosen, and these are the tiles you've chosen.
Confirm and finalize. Yeah.
Yeah, and we then the second purpose of the PCC that a lot of people don't know about is a way to speak to the customer, and you not only write down what the customer is saying and transcribe that and give them to them to sign, but you also put in things that you want to say to them, like, we will not allow your children in this place during work hours, and if they come in after work hours, it's your responsibility.
There you go.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Are really important, because this document, when signed, is part of your contract.
It is. Mm-hmm. Well, and Randall, you identified a lot of things that are important to the customer, right? Like making sure that dust isn't flying around everywhere and controlling that problem, because that's a big problem. If you're doing interior remodeling work, identifying the things that are important to the customer and getting those up front and out in the open, I think are huge, and it ends up leading to a much better project and process. So, And you could also incorporate that stuff in your marketing as well. So you're already kind of talking about the things that the other person down the other contractor is not.
Randall, get this follow-up question, then we'll move on to the lightning round, which I know you're just chomping at the bit to dig into, right? I had a client here recently say, well, okay, the pre-construction conference, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see the value in that. But do we really have to do it on every job? If it's a smaller job or if it's a pretty simple job, do we really have to do it? What would you say to him? I
would say do it.
But shouldn't my lead carpenter is going to be part of it? I mean, it's a smaller job. Do I really need him to be, and pay him for an hour of his time for this just planning meeting that I could take care of?
It is not so important to have your lead there.
Okay.
Many times I did not. But the important thing is they got every bit of information that came out of that meeting.
Nice.
And so did every subcontractor that it related to. So the advice was passed on to them. If you feel like the lead should meet them at that time, that's fine too.
It's important to have somebody that knows what they're doing there, outlining the strategy really of what you're going to do.
Right. And this is, in some cases, the handoff. I sold this job to you. Now it's up to Ryan here to take over this job.
Yeah. You'll still be part of it, but we're handing it off. So one other final point on it that maybe an exclamation point is that sometimes I hear when I talk about this with clients, well, I mean, I don't, as the owner, as a sales, I don't have the time to go out there and do this conference. But when you step back just a couple inches and look at this, you realize that if you can go through this and you're taking good notes and you're confirming things and you're verifying things and you're explaining, taking notes that are going to explain things to subcontractors, that 1 hour that you're investing is probably going to save you 10, 15 phone calls down the road,
yep.
All these issues. So, I mean, investing an hour is actually going to pay yourself back probably multiple hours, plus saving time, saving headaches, saving stress, etc.
Oh, you hit a key point there. This saves so much time and money. It's just it's so important.
And I find a lot of people just aren't going to change no matter what you tell them to do. They're just not going to. It's too late, and there's other people that just really want it. They have that desire to change and grow and be better every single day. And as a consultant, you can tell within 10 minutes kind of those people that are going to do it or the ones that aren't.
Beautiful. All right, so now let's get into the lightning round. This is where we kind of rapid fire through a series of questions, and you continue to share your knowledge and smarts with us. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start us off with the first one?
All right. Randall, what is the best business advice you've ever received?
Make a lot of money.
There you go. All right.
Just kidding. But the best business advice came from my father, and it's just to be a man of your word.
That's huge. Yep.
Beautiful.
Always do what you say you're going to do, and boy, that builds confidence.
Can you share one of your personal habits, Randall, that you believe attributes to your success now and in the past?
Well, I think a routine in the morning is really important. And I listened to some of your other podcasts, and I think he spoke to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're stealing one of the answers. Come on.
I'm not stealing answers. I have my own. A guy named Eben Pagan, who's a great internet marketer, wrote a program called Wake Up Productive, and I follow a lot of that. And you create a routine. You get up, you drink a half a liter of water, you shower, you exercise, you eat breakfast, a healthy breakfast, and then you maybe meditate a little bit, and then you read something educational. That's the beginning of his Wake Up Productive, and then it goes into the day. But those kind of things really help you have a good day. And I think any of people live longer who have routines.
What time do you get up in the morning to get all that done?
That's not a routine. I get up when I get up.
You get up when you get up.
About 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Okay.
But, I don't set a time unless I've got an appointment. I kind of like to wake up naturally.
There you go.
Yep.
Can
you recommend a book to Remodelers on the Rise listeners? It sounds like you're an avid reader, but if there was one that you'd recommend to the Remodelers listening, what would it be?
Well, the one I just mentioned, I think it's called Reinventing Yourself. And I would recommend this to anyone, no matter what industry they're in, by Mario Alonso Puig, and that's Puig. And it's talking about getting to know your brain and your mental state, and to control your emotions by knowing more about yourself. becoming more aware of your possibilities.
Sounds like a good one. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah. It's
the author has one of the coolest names I've heard in a while too.
Yeah.
he's
for no other
Spanish.
reason.
He's Spanish, and
Really?
the translation is not very good, I must say. But
Okay.
the guy teaches at Harvard. He's got a law degree there. He's a doctor. He's just got every degree in the world. He's super smart.
There's a right fielder for the Dodgers with the same last name.
Right.
Randall, do you have a resource of some kind that you wouldn't mind sharing with our listeners? And as a reminder to our audience, the resource will be available with the detailed show notes at remodellersontherise.com, show 4.
Yeah, I've got a PDF, and it kind of ties into the startup of a job, and it's a checklist for the first day of the job. I call it the first day checklist. So they can have that. I'll send you a copy.
Beautiful.
I'd also like to, I'll make sure that everyone gets sent over to your site and download the manifesto that you've created. Do you want to talk about that at all?
The manifesto is just a short discourse about my life and business, and it's kind of an inspirational tale to help remodelers want to do more, want to grow their business.
Great. All right, so here's one of the final questions. It's a tough one. It's a deep one. So here we go. Imagine you woke up tomorrow morning, Randall. I mean, you're going to wake up whenever you wake up, right? No alarm clock for Mr. Randall. Tomorrow morning, and you were in the same exact business. Let's point this towards the remodeling business here. But you knew no one, had no sales, and only $500 of startup money. And your life depended on you selling something in the next 7 days. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have. Your food and shelter is taken care of, but all you have is your little MacBook Pro and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days to survive and generate new business? And remember, your life depends on it.
Well, that's a good question. How to get a job and get paid in 7 days. First thing I do is buy a domain. The second thing I do is build a website. Then I would do some social work, do some tweets, LinkedIn, and try and build a community real quickly there. Then I would probably go to several of the chamber meetings that have breakfasts. There's a lot of chapters around, so you can go to those. You pay $10, and you go to those chapters.
Like a BNI or something.
Print business cards.
Yeah.
And talk to people about your experience. Have a good elevator pitch. And then see if you can ask some people out to lunch and start to share with them and ask if they have somebody who might use your services. And I think a good week of that, I'd have a job.
Network.
Yeah, it's all networking and marketing.
Do any of you know what a BLB is?
BLB, no.
Randall?
Bacon, lettuce, bacon?
No. It's an acronym I made up. It's breakfast, lunch, or beer, right? Walk up to these people at the networking event. Hey, would you like to have a BLB with me? Their response is going to be,
What is that?
What is that, right? Well, it's a breakfast, lunch, or beer. What one can I take you out on? Kind of a clever way to make them chuckle a little bit and remember. You guys will never forget what a BLB is.
Was that your pickup line when you picked up your wife, Kyle? Was that
you, Ryan? Oh, I'm much smoother than that.
You had another one? Okay.
I was 16 years old when I met my wife. I'm sure it was something brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that is a great tip, Kyle, because the thing that you want to do when you first meet a person is say something that's quick and engaging and creates a question.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
clever.
really clever.
I like it.
There we go.
Randall, finally, is there anything else you wanted to share today, and just let the audience know where else they can get a hold of you?
I think we've said most of it.
All right.
It's been great talking to you. I just really enjoy getting with you on these things.
Excellent. And can you tell everybody your website addresses again and how they can get a hold of you?
Okay, scientificremodelingsystem.com and remodelerbiz.com, and they can reach me at Randall, that's Randall, at scientificremodelingsystem.com.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Randall, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you sharing your story. And just a friendly reminder to all of our listeners, please check us out at remodellersontherise.com. And if you could take 2 minutes to review and rate our show on iTunes, the more reviews and ratings we get there, the better chance other people like yourself can find the show. So we appreciate you all tuning in. And to our guest, Randall, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you,
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And y'all have a good Friday.
Take care.
Remember, Remodelers on the Rise listeners, to head over to iTunes to like and review our show. You can also find today's interviews, full transcripts, and additional free resources at remodelersontherise.com. On behalf of Kyle and Ryan, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.